Well, good morning. It's Saturday morning and the last day of February here in beautiful Tennessee today. I was bragging because it's going to be nice and warm today. We have beautiful sunshine, going to probably hit close to 70. So I was trying to make some of these folks a little jealous, and then the South Florida folks started popping in. So I quit talking much about it. But I was thinking this week, each week I'm always trying to think about who I need for a guest and who would be the right person to be a guest. And I really do think about it each week and try. And it just hit me. Always have a lot of folks from Canada on. I'm just being honest. We have a lot of people from Canada that come on our calls. So I was just thinking we need to make sure we have a Canadian on. And so Cindy, by the way, I'm gonna make you host, Cindy, so you can run the spotlight and all, if you don't
Okay,
mind. And
sure.
but guys, when I just out of the blue, and I know he was like, "Where'd this come from?" Uh, make him send a text to Bob and say, "Would you mind being on today?" And you know what was so great is he didn't hesitate. He said, "I would love it, and I'd be happy to be there." And it was just quick. But I want to before we actually start today. I've known Bob and Lynn for we were just trying to determine that we've been knowing each other close to 20 years. The company we were part of closed about 14 years ago. The owner passed away, someone we were very close to and really admired and a mentor for me, I would say for sure. But we still have memorabilia around our office. I have a picture on the wall right there that I won't pull up. But Bob and I go way back, and we hadn't seen each other until we were last PXP, and we caught up for a few minutes, and it was really great. And I know my daughter has done, and we both have a unique thing. Bob, and I know Chris is here, by the way. I figured he'd be on. And but we have our children in the business, and that's something that some people say. I think that probably does more than anything to tell someone how much we believe in what we're doing. If you get your kids involved, and it took me, you're a lot quicker at getting Chris involved than I was. It took me a long time to get Kristen involved, but it took the product line because she was all about the product. But Bob, thanks for being on this morning. I just want to first start with that, and I actually don't even know this part. Give me your background before you started in the industry. I don't have any idea.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's an honor to be here. Chris, you're an icon, a legend in this industry. And I remember way back in the day, I mean, we all just had so much respect for what you accomplished in that company at HTM. And so it's an honor to be here. But I do need to correct you on one thing.
Okay.
In this business, it was Chris that got me involved. And it took him 6 months to get me turned around. Now, understand, I was praying for Chris and Joni really, really hard. Lynn and I have never prayed harder for anything in our lives, knowing they needed an opportunity. And so when he found this company, we were happy. We saw it as an answer to prayer. But I wasn't ready to just jump and leave. We were legacy builders, legacy club earners with another company, and so we said, this is what we prayed for. We're glad God's brought this into your life, but we're just going to stay where we are. But it only took about 6 months. He knew what to do. He kept dripping his checks on me. And, and when I began to understand the system and the opportunity he had here, yeah, it was me that jumped on to join him and Joni.
Well,
Sorry.
I didn't. I knew that part. I thought maybe because of the first company. I believe you got him started in the industry where I
Yeah.
was referring to. And by the way, he did the same thing to you I did to my daughter. She knew the
Okay.
products way better than I did and believed in them more. I just used them, but I was here because I always admit that I didn't know anything about health and nutrition. I was here
Yeah.
for the money, and Kristen was the other way around. And I would send her a copy of my paychecks on Friday until it. I didn't realize how much annoying it was to her, but it was annoying. I found out later, but it worked. And so it worked, and she's now loves the industry, and she doesn't. She's never going to be full time probably. She may be someday, but she loves and passionate for what she does in the health and nutrition in her gym business. And so, as I was telling everybody on the
Mhm.
call, she doesn't get on here on Friday and Saturday mornings much. That's her day to go ride 100 miles on her bicycle. I
Yeah.
can't. I've never had any desire to do that, but so
No, absolutely.
with all the experience you've had around the industry, and you made done very well, but in other companies as well. What do you see different about Partner Co? What makes you really, just and by the way, I think everybody knows. Bob said, "So what are we going to talk about?" And I said, and it never told me anything. It just it'd be an interview. That's one of the trademarks of this Saturday call. We just kind of shoot from the hip, and we just want people to feel the person. So, what made you? I know it was obviously Chris getting involved, but what else did you see? And now that you've been here a while, what do you see happening? Because you got the experience.
Yeah, I'll answer your first question real quickly first. Both Lynn and I have a background in financial services and corporate Canada. And I was 25 years in that industry. Lynn was 31 years in that industry. And yeah, we worked our tails off for someone else in a job, jump out of bed just over broke, journey of bondage. And you think you're pouring your life into something that they care as much about you do as you do about building their business. But when it was convenient, I was downsized, lost my job, and right at a time, when my kids were at an age where I was taking a lot of money in. So I wasn't sure what to do next. I opened a bistro, a coffee shop. I became an entrepreneur. And I think it cost me 140,000, Chris, to open this coffee shop, and about 5,000 a month. A year later, I sold the coffee shop for 30,000. And yeah, it was a losing proposition. And it was at that point, the last day of my coffee shop being open, that a good friend came in. Her name was Leanne Reed, and she came into my coffee shop and said, "Bob, I just want to tell you about opportunity." And she introduced me to this industry at that time, and we've never looked back. That was 27 years ago. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey. We've been in I guess about four different companies now prior to this over those 27 years. And we've been very blessed. I mean, we've had three of those companies that uh, God enabled us to build it to a seven-digit income. So we're looking for this one. It's going to quickly be number four, obviously, the way it's growing here. Um, but the differences could not be more stark. All the other companies were the same. They all touted a product. And hey, make no mistake, most companies have one or two good products. They do. I mean, it's not like we've got the only good products in the industry. There are some good products out there. And most companies, if you really apply yourself, you can make money with them. I'm not going to say they have the best compensation. You may have to work harder, but there's money to be made there. However, every company had the same spiel. We have a system, a duplicatable system, and they didn't. There was no duplication. There was no, and people don't understand that. People are not duplicatable. Systems are. Chris Doyle is not duplicatable. There's only one. But the systems we employ is the only thing that is going to enable others to achieve the success that we have. And so this is the first company I've ever seen where you got all three of those. I call it a three-leg stool. If you any one leg missing, you don't have an opportunity. Number one, you got to have good products, and especially a good flagship product. You'll never find better products than we have here at Partico, as you well know. And Lynn and I are always saying this of all the companies we've been in before, Chris, we have never used more of the products than we do here. It's like everything we could have ever wanted under one roof. And so we've got the products and we've got the best flagship product in these drops. I mean, where could you ever find a better flagship than that, where the results are so evident? Number two, we needed a compensation plan that could pay us well. If we're not making money, we're not going to have the same passion to go build. Or if we don't have an opportunity that enables us to make money, then you don't have that same passion to go build it. Well, we've got the right products. We've got the best compensation in the world. I was talking to John and Darren yesterday, and I was saying to them, man, that even just that one element of our comp plan, the uh, the matching bonus.
Action bonus, young.
I have never seen anything like that, Chris, in all my years in this industry. And you talk about better together, our logo. Um, Something that ties us together in partnership. That one element of the comp plan where I get paid a matching bonus on what the people I've introduced and they've introduced, eventually down through 7 generations, for me to earn a matching bonus on what they earn, that's partnership marketing because it ties us together. I want them to succeed. They want me to succeed. Together, we make money together. So we've got the right products, we've got the right compensation. But Chris, it's that third ingredient that sold me more than anything. We have a system. You name me one other company in the entire industry that has a real system, a duplicatable system. There's none. And I mean, over time, we all need to eventually get in and be building our business by going out and finding people. I mean, that's the nature of the industry. But the first year, while you're getting started, while you're building that foundation of the team, we've got these posts going out where people are coming to us. And so by the end of the first year, people have built some knowledge, some experience, they've built some income. And, as a result of those posts, I've never seen anything like that, Chris. Unique.
Well, I think you and I both know, like you just said, everybody claims to have a system, but really having one that truly executes. And I'll be very honest, this is not something that was here the first. Obviously, this company's Partner Co is only 3 years old, but it was a group of companies that were merged. And I think we're still kind of having mergers because big leaders are merging with us. But the fact of the matter is, we know because of the experience. When I came to what that time was actually was the company with the drops, was RX, and that's what their flagship was. Then nobody really knew what we didn't know how to do anything with it. We knew they were great. Matter of fact, I still remember Todd Rowland saying, "I don't care if they work or not. You got to take them. You need to lose some weight." So
Yeah.
because we did, but then we realized they really did work, and I think I lost 60 pounds in my first 68 days, and I'm like, okay, these things really worked.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to point out that nobody else that you talked about it. You said one part of the comp plan, and it's called match pay. That's something that as you're here a long time, you're going to see to build. And Todd and I also, Cindy's on this call. We kept trying to figure out the catcher right now. We kept thinking there was going to be some kind of loop. And I bet you did too, a tripwire.
Mhm.
They're not going to pay this. There's going to be some loop. And I know you've been here now. I don't know how long, but the fact is, there's not a loophole. It really pays and it does what it says it's going to do. And all that said, those are important things. But we also, probably the most important thing that I hope some of you got out of that is Bob talking about how the system is in place, as it wasn't for many, many years. Everybody was trying to figure it
Mhm.
out. And I wish we could tell you we was real smart. And we just kind of it was a group of minds together. And you said better together. This actually got started by somebody in Florida that was started that little drop sale that someone else kind of semi-duplicated. Next thing you know, a different leader took it, honed it more, and then all of it began to work together in a group of
Mhm.
leaders. Guys, I don't want to start naming names because somebody would feel like I left them out. There was a group of people that put that, and then they were all cross lines. And as
Yeah.
they put together, it was like, and then there was keeping the data, and then it got honed and really working better. And now as we start to see the company beginning to grow, why is that important? I want to mention one thing. Bob and I were, and I said we were in another company together a long time ago. And
Mhm.
that company basically got pretty close to that, not a system as good as what we have now, but we had a system of what we call push play. And we had nothing but a few DVDs that really explained it with somebody else. And I watched that company explode. Before that, it was just doing well. And everybody's making a little money. And so we all believe we're in a really sweet spot. I try to tell my daughter all the time, you have no idea all the time and effort that was building right now. People were joining my business then and they were making money like it took me 5 years to build. And we're starting to see that today. People, I hear you're chairperson one, am I correct?
Yep. Yep.
You know, there was a long time when I don't remember anybody in the United States or Canada being for years being promoted to that. Now we've had several chairpersons promoted in the last few weeks. Why am I pointing this out to you guys? Bob and I both know that momentum is something you can't explain. You had to experience it. I know he has. I only did once. We felt like we caught lightning in a bottle. And that's where we are with this company. It's not done
Mhm.
by no means. It ain't even, but it ain't, it's just on that beginning edge. I think what you're going to see with our company over the next 3 years is going to be those record setting type months. But talk to us a little bit about how do you get a new person started? What do you tell them when you get a new person?
Well, it's the beauty. Again, it's part of our system. It's that the first thing we need to do is we need to teach them our system. I mean, this is duplicatable for a reason. We want to duplicate it. And so we have a funnel of information, which we go down this funnel. Number one, make sure your order is in there sufficient to be activated. Although I'll come back to the ultimate, which is where we live and die on that hill, ultimate. But we get them started with a minimum 4 pack. So in this funnel, I call it funnel, but it's a boards um, function. And next, make sure your subscription's in place. We want them to have all of this done. Then we'll get them in a training, in an onboarding. We want them to download their boards. We want them to download our board or join our board. We want to make sure their pay is set up in the back office. So we send them this funnel. We tell them we want you to have that done by tomorrow or the next day. They finish, they make sure all of that's done. So I'm not Zoom while they're loading boards and going through all that. We want them to have all that set up. Then we meet in Zoom, we do an onboarding or face to face if they're local, but 99% are not local. And we just make sure they know exactly what to do. I want you posting 9 to 3 every day. I want you to start today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. And yeah, we just get them following the system. And we make sure within that system, they know exactly what to send. They know exactly well, they don't need to know what to say. They just need to know where to go and click. That's why I tell people anybody can do this business. It is so automated. All they need to do is go in, send out a post, click, answer a question, click, boost my post, click. It is that simple.
You know, what you just said that was so important, and I hope people caught it. You get them starting now. Get them comfortable. That's something I've heard Brent Palmer. He's so good at. Brent talks so much about getting someone started, talking them through their first post, even if they don't feel like they're ready to start. But guys, everybody is really ready. They just need you to help them. And I think that's where a lot of people, honestly, in my opinion, people fail in our business when they think they've got them signed up. Okay, I did my job. No, now your job just beginning. I didn't sign people up, but can I get them mentored to get started? And that's the key, getting them started. The start kills most people. I've said that many times. The start kills most people. So,
Yeah.
I think we all talk about the why and everything else. I mean, you've done very well in the industry. You don't have to do this anymore. I mean, we all know you don't have to do this anymore. I know that. I mean, I still get up and do Saturdays, and somebody said, "Why do you do this?" And I said, I like the community, and I don't want them telling me where to go, but that's something that you learn different about what this does, freedom. Why don't you talk about what the freedom this industry has done for you? Because even for most people know about my background and owning a big company, thinking I made a lot of money. Guys, I
Mhm.
did, but I had no freedom. I was tied to that plant 24/7. And this is
Yeah.
so different. Can you talk about that just a little bit, what that's meant for you and Lynn?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tie in with that if you don't mind. One of the biggest problems I think we have today is people have lost their ability to dream, and a lot of that, let's face it, it's been beat out of us by our schools, by jobs, by our employers, by everyone, and people have lost their ability to dream and just imagine. I spoke in Montreal last weekend with my good friend Popo LeBoy, and I opened with that. Just imagine, just imagine if you had no need for money. Your bank account was full. You had what you needed. Just imagine your house is paid for, no credit card debt. Get up when you want to get up. Believe me, 7 in the morning this morning is way earlier than I normally get up, but I'm here because I wanted to be here and for this group. But I'm saying now we get up when we want to get up, right? If you just think about that, that all of that stress, all of that worry, most people go to bed at night, as you know, and they lay their head in their pillow and they worry all night, wondering, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to put my kids through college? How am I going to pay my mortgage? Uh, all these other costs that are going up. And I mean, people stress and worry over that. I'll tell you, there's something to be said for the peace of mind of just knowing I work because I want to work. I get up because I want to get up. I do what I do because I want to. And most people just do not have that luxury.
And I think people need to understand that didn't happen for Bob the first 2 years. That wasn't
Nope.
3 years. That was time in. And that's what I try to stress to people. They think that they're supposed to be at the top of the mountain when they just got started. Now, certainly our company's in some real momentum stage. But let's face it. I mean, everybody wants to, they got to stick and stay. Cindy and I work together, and she remembers you obviously from our other company that we worked together. And I told Cindy I really wanted her to jump on here. She's really building her business now, made a decision to really engage in partner code. I only really, even though she's been with me from the beginning, I tell you what, I think she's smarter than everybody else. Cindy waited till she waited till the system got in place. And
Well, she's
when she
definitely
started
better
seeing,
looking,
and
Chris.
all it was, she's like, you guys really do have a system. Next thing we know, Cindy is already, she jumped to CEO, but she went from not even doing anything to just ranking up. And I'm proud of her because, hey, she recognizes. So, Cindy, I want you to talk to Bob a little bit about what you remember or just whatever you want to ask.
No, so of course, Bob knows. I've
Mhm,
known Bob for years as well, and think the
mhm,
world of Bob and Lynn. But Bob,
mhm.
Chris actually hit on it. What you said, you've been in four other previous companies, and you've made seven figures in at least three of them, right? Three or
Yep,
four,
yep,
three, getting
three.
ready for. And what Chris just said is what I was actually going to jump in and say. Everybody knows that I have been a traditional business owner for 30 years. You owned a coffee shop. We know the good and bad.
Yep.
I lost as much money as I made over years, right? Off and on, right? You make a lot, you lose a lot in traditional, but it owns you and there's a lot of bad. But what really Chris just hit on that I always try to say is if you're right, people lose the ability to dream, the
Mhm,
ability to have vision of something bigger. And they
mhm.
look at someone on the screen like you, Bob, or Chris, and Joni, or Chris Doyle, or myself, someone, and they'll say, "Yeah, but that's them, and I don't have a business background, or I
Mhm.
didn't do." But you didn't either to start with in this industry. You didn't have a history in it. And so what Chris just said to me is what I try to tell people. People quit too soon. They
Yeah.
give up too soon, and they don't
Mhm.
realize that maybe they can't afford to go buy franchises like I owned to begin with, or they don't know enough about business to have a startup or enough investment money. But here they can get started with 30, $40 and a dream, a vision, a 4-pack that they can sell and make money on, or a 30-pack here in the US. But they have to treat it like a business and give it time and know that they don't have to be where Chris and Joni are, where Bob and Lynn are, where Chris Doyle is, or where any of these people that they see up on the stage are. They have to just
Yeah.
start and have the vision for themselves, right? I
Yeah.
want you to talk
Yeah.
about that because I know you're so good at that, Bob.
Oh, thank you. It's funny, somebody just asked me the other day, they see how well this is going, and they say, and it only took you 1 year in this business because we only joined just over a year ago. And I said, I don't know who told you that, but they're lying to you. It's taken us 27 years. Not 1 year, just 1 year here. But the 26 years before here is what
Repeat
put
that.
us.
Repeat that. Repeat that. I mean, I get
Key.
so
Robert
many people
Kiyosaki,
hear this thing, this person did it. Repeat that. It's not the norm.
Robert Kiyosaki said, The biggest takeaway from a network marketing business is not the money you earn, but the business skills you learn. That's the key. In every business I was in, I was learning new business skills. I look back at some of my decisions, some of how the details of how I ran my first businesses, and I shudder now. I would never do it the same way now. But I was learning business skills. So over these 27 years, it's been learning, it's been personal development, it's been out in the trenches, it's been doing what I needed to do to learn how to build this business. But it doesn't happen overnight for anybody, not Todd, not Chris, not Brent. I have to say, you've got to pay your dues. You just do. And if you get there before you know how to build, you're not going to know what to do with it. People say, oh, well, if I could just be inserted in here. No, that is not going to help you if you don't know how to build the business yet. If you don't have the skills, not only to build it, but to maintain it. And I'm not telling this to people so that they'll say, oh, that's too hard. No, it just means don't expect that in your first year, you'll achieve the same results as someone who has been 26 years in the industry building and has learned. And hey, you could, you may, but I just wouldn't want people giving others that expectation because they'll quit. They'll say, oh, I only made this much, therefore I'm no good at this. No, you just haven't learned the business skills yet, but it will come if you don't quit. That's I spoke to someone the other day. They were getting ready to throw in the towel after 2 months. I said, are you kidding me? 2 months is not enough time to throw in the towel. I said, you haven't learned the business skills yet to get this up and going. It takes a bit of time, but you can do this. So they agreed to stay in and go back to work. But we just can't quit too soon. If we do, I mean, it was all a waste.
Bob, so you just said something, Chris. Think about this. Chris and I, we're not that smart. Chris, I can say that for both of us because we're just tenacious, right? We just go to work. That's it. It's all we know. But here's the thing. People go off to college. I'm not knocking college for those of you with big degrees, but they go off to college. And I was talking to Karen last night, Ken and Karen has 8 years of college, right? And what's so funny is they go through 3, 4, 6 years of college to make less than 100,000 a year. Here, you has a lot
Yeah,
less to start
yeah,
out with. And they're willing to take that time to learn how to do whatever that profession is, but they're not willing to do it here. And here, if you learn the same amount of skill set that you would learn more so, right? And for free than you do
yeah,
in college, you're going to earn at a higher level than you would coming out of college for 3 or 4 years. So give yourself
absolutely.
3 or 4 years. And if you've been in 3 or 4 years, and Bob, we know people who got in and didn't know what they were doing. We didn't have systems in place, and maybe they didn't have the success, the quick success. But now it's learn the new skill with the new system and take off. Can you speak to, you're already talking on that, but just that is the key. It's so serious about, guys, give yourself 2 or 3 years, but be serious about it, not a hobby, right?
Yep, absolutely. And within those years and throughout your career, we'll go back to what we started talking about a minute ago, vision. The Bible says where there is no vision, the people will perish. It's no different in our business. Where there's no vision, you're going to quit. Plain and simple. It's not going to work. You've got to know where you're going. Your vision is your goals. It's where you're going. How will you ever know you've achieved or arrived if you have no vision or goals of where you're going to? But most people, and I mean the majority, they just get building and going and run by the seat of their pants. They don't know where they're going. Therefore, they don't ever know what they've achieved. So they measure their success by, well, Bob did this much in his first year, or Chris did this much last year, and that's not a fair comparison. And so I share with people, and again, I was talking about this in Montreal last weekend. We use a vision board, and anybody who doesn't have a vision board, I'll just tell you, you need one. You and I should have one. You need one. If you want to succeed, you need a vision board. Now, for me, I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I call mine a prayer board, but it's a visual prayer board that we pray over every day. Every item on that prayer board that we pray about. And I shared, I put a picture of my vision board up from last year and showed it to them in Montreal. And the whole room just, they couldn't believe it when I explained to them. A year ago, we set, and this was a year ago in November, we set a date on a calendar, November 28th, we're going to be Chair One. What day do you think we became Chair One? November 28th, a year later, the day,
Unbelievable.
because on our board, we put the date of when it's to happen. November 28th, 2025, we will be Chair One. On that day, I just tell you, the same, I still get goosebumps. On the day is when we became Chair One. On there, we said that day as November 28th, we want 4 optimized legs. That was the day when we hit our first 4 optimized legs. Remember, we set that a year earlier. We put on there, we wanted certain investments, and I'm telling you our vision board, that we wanted them to double over the year. That was a big goal, a big vision. Guess what? They more than doubled. Who knew silver was going to take off the way it did, right? But point being, it was on my vision board. Lynn had a goal, and this was her dream. And this was a $50,000 dream that she wanted to bring all of our family in from all over the world, rent our own resort, and bring everybody in and spend it together as a family. And guess what? That happened in August of 25. And so I could go through, there was 9 items on the vision board. Every one, income. We set an income amount and for the calendar or for the vision board that I showed in Montreal, I didn't show the amount. I just had 2 zeros and a comma and 3 zeros after that. I said, I'm not going to tell you the number that's ahead of all those zeros, but it would blow your mind. We set that goal, that income goal, a year ago. And when we set it, we prayed about it. We didn't just pick a number out of the air and say, we're going to earn this much over the next year. We prayed about it. I I had a bigger amount in mind. Lynn had a lower amount. We came together and we worked out an amount that we believed, and that's the key word, we believed we could achieve. That's the number that went on our vision board. And I still get goosebumps. A year to the day, we hit that number within dollars, not tens of dollars, dollars. And the key word there, this is where most people go wrong with their vision board or their um, or their goals, is that the Bible says, a few keywords. Everybody knows the verse. All things are possible to the one that believes. But they didn't stop and read the first part of that verse. If you can believe, all things are possible to the one that believes. But the key there, when we're setting our goals, somebody said to me, well, why didn't you set your goal for $1 billion? Because I couldn't believe that. Nothing in my brain would believe that I'm going to earn $1 billion my first year. Nothing in my brain could believe that I would earn 2 million in that first year. Now, I will tell you this, if I had the faith sufficient to believe that, I believe God would be more than happy to fulfill it. But I can't believe it in my finite brain. So we need to make sure our goals are something we can believe. And then we put them to paper. We never look back. That was the goal that God laid in our heart. We're going to stick to it, and He will bring it to pass. And the key there is if you can believe, make sure your goal is something that's a stretch, but something you can believe will happen. And put that down, and you go for that. Now, to tie that into what we were just talking about also is the fact that as you are in this business or this industry for a period of time, your belief level rises because you know what? I've done it before. I've achieved these successes. I've learned these business skills. Therefore, I believe I can earn this much. And I don't mean just say the words. People like to say the words, I will earn this much. I don't mean just words. I mean here, believing that it will happen. Because if you don't believe it, it will not happen, plain and simple. But I believe that if we can believe it, we go to work for it, we pray over it, watch the magic begin.
There's some, we learned that from a mentor that we both appreciate, don't we? I think all
You
three of
got
us
it.
who we learned that from. I can see
Yeah,
his picture on my wall because
yeah,
I do say it was something you said, believing it is
yeah,
so critical and is so hard for people. I'm
yeah,
convinced, I've heard the old saying, it's easier to make the second million than it was the first. And the reason is because then you can believe it.
yeah,
And I believe that that helped me with this business. But I see people and professionals in our industry and they struggle. But most people do not
yeah,
understand. When I joined network marketing, I didn't have, I had burned the ship. I didn't burn it intentionally. It burned on its own. I mean, the government burned it for me when they changed the rules. So
yeah,
I lost my company. So my ship had been burned. So I didn't have a choice but to make it. And that's where most people, I'm convinced, they have something to fall back on. They either have a degree in something. And by the way, again, I'm not against degrees. I had a 1.7 GPA in high school, so I don't have to worry about degrees. They don't let me in school. So, but I have one thing that others don't have, and that is I'm willing to do what Cindy said. I'm relentless when it came to my work ethic. And you also said something that I hope a lot of people know that's my passion. Lynn had a goal to bring her family together and pay for everything. You know,
mhm,
we've done those goals with our family as well, taking them to Florida, got the beach
mhm.
house. We're actually funny that you brought that up. Judy was planning a trip yesterday for the entire family, and we're looking for a house on the beach that we're not asking them to split. We're just paying for everything, and all they got to do is make the
Show up.
arrangements to come. Guys, there's so many things that we can go from there. So, what's the one thing I want to really reel you in on the company a little bit because I know you've met a lot of great owners. We have. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I mean, I was with obviously our first guy where we met was probably the best in this industry I had ever met. His charisma on stage to this
Yeah,
day, I've never seen anybody
yeah,
could speak any better and can make you follow him off of a mountain.
mhm,
Then I also was with another company that had the business minds, but they didn't have the passion.
yeah,
They on stage, nothing against their speaking. I don't mean it in a bad way, but all they were was business. They didn't understand what we did. And I really want, I know that you know where I'm going with this.
yeah,
I think we have a special ownership.
mhm,
And I'm not just saying that because
yeah,
we have them. I can tell you that I've been in both shoes. And what we
yeah,
have is the best of both worlds. Would you
yeah.
elaborate a little bit on why you're so convinced that what we're going to do with this company?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. The industry was ready for something new, and we are it. There's nobody else like there's no other company like this that operates in a partnership the way we do it. I love that logo, you know, the hands locked together, better together. We are in a partnership with corporate in a way that I've never seen before. And you and I know, we were in previously, we had that relationship with him, Paul, as the owner, but he never had the team, never had the team like we've got here, where we work hand in hand with them. I mean, I'll go back to John and Darren, but when have you ever seen anyone with the heart and the soul, the drive, the work ethic, and the caring of Katie Holt Larson? I mean, she is one of a kind. I've been in this industry a long time. I've somebody said to us, that was when we became president. They said, "So what was it? What sparked you to get that?" I said, we didn't want to let Katie down. Plain and simple. I did not want to let, she said she wanted us there for that day. We were going to make it happen. But so all of that ties into partnership marketing. And the brilliance of Darren and John is that they put together, I call it an umbrella group of companies which are partnered together, giving us products across the spectrum like I've never seen before. But they themselves, not just the company, not just corporate, but they themselves. I was talking to both of them last night. They called me and we had a great chat. I've never met owners that were as vested into the success of their leaders, and and willing to pick your brain and learn things to do, and just getting a feel for how we're seeing things unfold. And yeah, I am blown away. I mean, I've worked for a lot of good people. I've worked for some leaders that were not so good, corporate leaders, but I have to put them as number one. They and their skill sets are so complementary of one another. They're different, but man, you put those two together, you've got an ownership team like I've never seen before in this industry.
Well, I think yeah, you hit it, but you got Darren, who's got, I mean, his background is that businessman who had already done it, who didn't need any money. But the other side is you got a partner that's done what we've done from scratch. Matter of
Yeah,
fact, really, here's John's story and how he got started in our industry and realized that he went to Japan and stood on street. Guys, everybody tells me how hard they're working. You ain't gone to Japan and stood on the street corner trying to sell a bottle of noni juice when you're 18 years
yeah,
old and didn't really know the language well. So when people tell me they paid the price, it's a lot of price to pay. I actually got a text from Susan Frank. You brought a crowd of leaders out today. So see, there's some people that make it to the top fast. Susan's got some people on her team that's moved up, never done the industry before. I worry about them because they're going to be valleys.
hmm,
I hope they're listening. I don't know if they're on here. Guys, I have been to the top of the mountain when I didn't think it could ever go backwards. Then a leader on my team decided they needed to go to a different company and take part of my team with them. Or they decide the grass is greener somewhere else, don't even understand what they got their hands on. But I mean, that's part of what you're going to have to deal with. But you go through stages, don't you, Bob? I mean, you go through the
yeah,
stage where you're trying to become the leader, and then you get the stage when you got some leaders. I even tell somebody once, my best day, and this one of the best days I ever had in this business, in this industry. I went to an event. Cindy may not, I don't think she'd re-engaged yet. And somebody said, I don't think you're speaking. I said, no, but the first 5 people were on my team. That was the best thing in the world. I didn't have to memorize anything. I didn't have to build a PowerPoint. I just got to say those people, and they were all on my team. That's what you want. You want to build people up. Why don't you talk a little bit about that building people up thing? Because I love seeing this.
yeah, absolutely. Again, we said earlier that people have lost their will to believe, their will to dream, and sadly, what most people are looking for today, what they need, is someone to believe in them. They can't believe in themselves until we show that we believe in them. And hey, I look back and I thank God for all the people early on in my networking career that showed belief in me. What did that do? That gave me the impulse to believe in me, to believe what I could do with God's help. We need to do the same. We need to put an arm around them. We need to recognize, and again, sometimes we forget because when I started in this business, I'll never forget the time that Joni and the patience she showed every day or every day or two when I would forget certain things in the system, and she was always so happy and willing and eager to make sure I knew that system. We need to be that way, and the reason is if they don't have that system operating, they're not going to achieve the success they're looking for. And so we just need to pour into them daily and let them know through our words and through our actions that we believe in them. And it needs to be real. I mean, I don't mean we should make up a bunch of malarkey, but we need to literally see in people the potential. They've all got it. We just need to know what we're looking for and point it out to them. that we believe they can do this, and we believe you can achieve success. And you mentioned a moment ago something that just triggered a thought. Again, something I mentioned in Montreal last weekend. It's like a sailboat. You look at these sailboats, they do these races around the Cape of the Horn and all this. I mean, they've all got the same wind. How on earth can some boats do it in hours before others? How do they do that? They all have the same wind. It's all how they trim the sails. That's to show. You see, we look at the wind as an enemy. We have winds that blow upon us, and I'm talking about in life as well as business. The winds of adversity, the winds of discouragement, the winds of somebody in our team quitting, whatever. And we look at that as a difficulty. You called it the lows. It's easy to get discouraged when the wind is blowing on us, but the wind is not our enemy. The wind is what's going to take us to our destination. It's all how we trim the sails. You see, the pessimist looks at the wind and just expects that it'll change one day. The optimist looks at the wind, or sorry, the pessimist looks at the wind, thinks it'll never change. I might as well pull down the sails. The optimist looks at the wind and says, oh, well, it'll change someday. But the realists are the ones that say, okay, the wind has changed. I need to trim my sails to catch the wind. And this business is about daily trimming our sails. What do I need to do today? What do I need to do a little different from yesterday? What's happening? Am I getting as many hits on my posts? What can I do differently to improve those numbers? And we need to always be recalibrating, maybe is a good word. What can I do without completely jumping out of the system which we know works? What can I do within this system to improve it? Catch the wind and be able to use the winds to get me where I want to go. We need to get good at that. It's what we do.
That's a good place to end. I hate to even do that. We still got a few minutes left, but guys, he's told you everything. So many people try to point their fingers at others as what they're not doing, or that boat had an advantage, or this person's on this team, or this person's. Guys, you have all the same team. We're all working together. Bob, how are we connected financially? We're not. Now, Cindy, obviously, is a personal sponsor, and she's going to have to take, she doesn't know it, she's got to take the call next Saturday as well. But I thought I'd tell her without asking. So, I can do that to her. I have to ask you. But anyway, Bob, thank you so much. Any parting words for the team? I mean, I know that you've been in a lot of companies. I am going to ask one last question. Can you feel the difference in a way that people care about each other from the cross lines in this company? You feel a difference? Because
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no question. The lines of sponsorship are blurred here more than I guess any company I've ever seen. Where we're happy to work together. We're happy to help one another. And hey, what you put out will come back. The Bible says, "Cast your bread upon the waters." And hey, many days it's going to come back to you. And we've seen that, and experienced that, and it's very unique what we have here. And it ties right in with our name, partnership marketing. I these days often tell people right out the first thing I'll say to them when we meet, if you're looking for the next great multi-level marketing, you're talking to the wrong person. I've been there, done that, gone the gauntlet. I found something much better. It's called partnership marketing. And I'll go in and explain some of the advantages of being able to partner up within my team and even without people that are in different downlines. We're able to work together and achieve a common good.
Awesome. See any last words? I mean, it was a great call.
Yeah, you know what? I'll just key back on what we said. Believe. If you can believe. If you can't believe, you need to do more important than anything. You need to do what you need to do to build your belief up. You need to do some personal development. But believe, show up consistently. Don't show up a day and then nobody sees you for a month. You're not on any of the calls or any of the Zooms. And that's not the secret to success. You need to believe. in the system. You need to believe in this company. You need to believe you can achieve it and then show up consistently. And I'll finish with and follow the system. But I'll finish with this one. There's a little portion of the Gospels where we read that Peter went out and he fished all night. He caught nothing. He came in the morning from being out on the Sea of Galilee, and Peter, he's talking to Peter, and he said, Peter, launch out into the deep, cast your nets. Peter said, Lord, why on earth would I do that? I fished all night. I caught nothing. The fish aren't biting, if you will, to use a term we'd use today. And Jesus probably, we don't read, we probably just looked at him. You know what that look? Because Peter said, okay, Lord, at your word, I'll do it. And so he got in his boat reluctantly and he sailed out. He did what he was supposed to do. He sailed out, as Jesus said, launch out into the deep. He didn't say stick around here in the shallows. He said, get out there. You need to go out and go to work where the people are. He said, launch out into the deep, cast your nets, plural, not singular. Now, if you read in the Gospels, Peter had a little bit of faith, not a lot, because he only cast one net. Jesus said, cast your nets, plural. He cast one. That's why his net was busting, because he couldn't get all fish ashore. He lost a lot of fish by not casting multiple nets. But hey, even a little bit of faith was good. He brought all that fish into shore. And what was the difference that day from the night before? The difference was God brought the fish to him. Every day we need to wake up and say, God, bring the fish to me this day. I don't know who needs what we've got. I don't know who cried themselves to sleep last night, not knowing how they're going to pay their bills. I don't know who's got kids in college. They don't know how they're going to be able to finish that. I don't know who's worried about AI. We talked about diplomas. I tell people, man, they're worth 20 cents on the dollar now. AI will replace 95% of white collar jobs. And so these people need a solution, and whether we know it or not, they're thinking about this, and it's worrying, it's bothersome to them. We have the solution. And so we wake up, we say, Lord, bring a fish to me today. And I started out, I used to just say, bring a fish to me. And then I thought, that's dumb. I need to say, Lord, bring me some big fish. I want big fish, and guess what? He does. So I would encourage you, believe, show up consistently, follow the system, and cast your nets. Our system of growth is the most brilliant system I've ever seen. That needs to be the core central piece of what we do. However, that's one net. We also need to be out talking to people. We need to be getting involved in things that will connect us to people. We need to be restoring and establishing relationships with people. All of those are ways that we can cast our nets. And not that we're trying to get people, but so we can be there to help people that need and want what we've got.
That's a great place to end because I think Cindy and I both agree, both of us were praying for something. I know me in my case, that's exactly where I was, unhappy, trying to start over. We pray for things, but sometimes God doesn't show up the way we pick. I wanted to send me another manufacturing company, I guess. But I'm so fortunate. He knew what I needed. Because
Yeah,
now I love the relationships. And you know what? You've made my morning. I got up really tired. I told them all I was tired. I hadn't slept well. I got an injury, and I'm like, but you've made me and inspired us. So someone say, why do you still do these calls? Because of the
yeah,
wonderful people that we get to talk to every Saturday morning. Guys,
yeah.
unmute yourself. I'm going to stop the recording.